Good afternoon and welcome to Nutmeg Sports on the HAN Network. It is Monday, December 18th. We are officially into the winter season. Frank Granito alongside Kevin Coleman in studio. Kev, we got our first dose of hockey this weekend. I think we've got a good sense right now of the early goings for a couple of big teams here.
We certainly do. We can finally kiss the fall season goodbye. It's officially over, guys. We had a great fall season. Now we're full swing into hockey, basketball, wrestling, you name it. It's so far, and I think we already saw some good matchups, not only in basketball, but hockey this weekend. A good start to the winter season, I think. It's just getting going. Look at throughout the schedule this year. You go from December to February. There are some good matchups coming up this season.
You know, it's really the best time of the year, in my opinion, when you think about all the interconference matchups. And you're seeing the top programs in every sport now compete across the board. And we've got plenty to cover today for hockey. We'll get you ready for basketball. But before we get started today, I would like to take a moment and apologize to the Fairfield Prep hockey team, both athletes and coaches past and present, that comprise the storied program. During a recent interview with a competing program, I made an insensitive remark regarding the likability of the prep hockey team. And while it was meant to be in a playful context of friendly competition amongst local hockey teams, it was without question beneath the dignity of the HAN network and most importantly, untrue regarding Fairfield Prep, their hockey team, and all those involved in the program and the school. We look forward to seeing these athletes on and off the ice in the future, and we'll continue supporting the program as we do with all the schools and athletes in the area. Now diving into that weekend schedule we were talking about, let's start with Fairfield Prep. They were taking on the defending state and FCIAC champion Richfield Tigers. Our own Kevin Coleman was at the game, and Kevin, what were your early takeaways after seeing two of the top teams in the state heading into the year?
Well, right from puck drop, I thought Prep right away really set momentum, getting good shots on net, putting pressure on the Richfield Tigers. But for a while there, the Tigers, I'd say the last 10 minutes of that first period, they were getting some good opportunities. You got to give a lot of credit to the senior goalie, Jack McGee. I thought at times in that first period, he stood on top of his head. He was making some great saves, keeping this a scoreless game, and sure enough, in those final maybe 4 minutes or so, you finally saw Prep get that first goal, and that's when you really saw them score that first goal. That was it. Prep went on to win this game 6-1, and I think once they got up 2-0, going right into the locker room, to the dressing room, going into the first intermission, that's when you saw the Richfield Tigers not fall apart, but lose confidence, and that's where you really saw the second period, Frank. Total domination for Fairfield Prep.
And reading articles on the game, talking with you about it, I think, first of all, it sounded like the Winter Garden was packed. There was a great atmosphere about the arena. And I think for Richfield coming off of last season, you're putting up that banner now that's got FCIAC and state champions in 2017. They came out of the gates hot, and you're right, McGee was on his head early on, really was able to just weather that first storm from the Tigers and let the Jesuits settle in. The big takeaway, and you talk about Prep seizing all the momentum and not defeated, but at least diminished Richfield team heading in the locker room. We say this every broadcast we do with a hockey game. The first and final minute of a period, you just can't allow a goal. The Tigers surrendered 2 in the final 48 seconds of the first period. I don't care who you are as a team. That is a very tough task to come back from, because playing so well, you start to fall apart. Not fall apart, you start to take a little bit of a barrage from Fairfield Prep towards the bottom of that period. You think, okay, we can just get to the locker room tied at 0, reset. Then just like that, it's 2-0. And this is a Prep team, Kevin, very fast, very skilled. They are going to be a top program again, as they are every year. Not a team you want to be chasing behind 2.
Certainly not. And Richfield was on the power play in that first period, and I got to credit the Jesuits for having a great power play kill in that first period, because Richfield on that power play still had some good looks on net. Again, Jack McGee coming up with some great saves. Thought, the defenseman did a nice job. One player stuck out to me in that first and second periods, and pretty much throughout the entire game, was Cole Castle, number 2, the senior defenseman. I thought he was terrific for the Jesuits. He had a good season last year as a junior, now stepping up as a senior, doing a nice job, not only defending, but taking the puck, and he can skate, Frank. This guy's fast. He can get up the ice, not afraid to put it on net. Good defender. He's not afraid to go up the ice. And you look throughout, Devin Blanchett as well, number 11. I thought he was another standout player, a dangler. He was really getting by. I thought he was a nice player as well. Really all around, Ryan Eckert, I know he's one of the captains of this team for Fairfield Prep. He was another player that stood out to me. I was very, very impressed from what I saw from the Jesuits. Richfield, I know the place was packed. It was a good atmosphere early on, but you got to give the Jesuits a lot of credit, taking that student section out of the Winter Garden Saturday night.
And it's one of the big strengths for Prep this year is going to be their depth. They're always a program that can skate 4 lines against anyone in the state, and they've got quality scoring 3 lines deep legitimately this season. McGee and net is great, but it's all, you're right, the skating ability of the defense. It's become the hybrid position that you see now. You're going to have a lot of defenders, Kev, that are active in the rush. They're a full 200-foot player. They can rush it up, be a part of an offensive chance, and they're going to get back in time to break up any opportunity the other way. And their defense are going to do that as well as anyone. For me, I think on the Ridgefield side of things, you knew that these first couple of weeks were going to be tough. You lose a lot from last year's team. Chemistry is going to come. And these are a lot of guys who some have experience, but they probably have not played on these particular line combinations. You have to find a way to overcome that, and it will come in time. It's also what makes playing against Prep, Xavier, Northwest Catholic, all these top schools, it helps that growing process exponentially. Sean Gordon, replacing Sean Keegans, I thought he did a good job. 25 saves. I know there's a 6 up on the other side, but still, for your first start as the full-time starter here, I thought Gordon did a good job, and he's going to continue to get better and be more comfortable in that crease.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned, games like this against Prep, Xavier, you name it, Northwest Catholic. I think you look at these teams, being better, like playing these teams, and actually, for a junior, for Sean Gordon's, yes, he puts up a 6th spot here, but 25 saves. I thought at times he made some terrific saves for the Tigers on Saturday night. But for him, I think you go up against a team like Fairfield Prep. This is a learning experience for him. At the end of the day, I think if you're Coach Gallagher, yes, you're disappointed in the loss, but you take away a game like this, you learn from it. The juniors, and maybe even the seniors too, will take away a loss like this early on in the season. He can only hope they will use this as motivation throughout the rest of the season.
And Coach Gallagher said too, give all the credit to Fairfield Prep. They played a great game. He didn't think they played poorly though. Thought they played a good game. He saw a lot of good things. There's plenty to build off of this. And Kev, Ridgefield was not the only FCIAC team that struggled out of conference. We've got more hockey from this past weekend coming up next on Nutmeg Sports on the HAN Network.
If you've ever thought about owning a motor coach or learning about what it's like to travel the open road in superior style and comfort, then contact Dave's RV Center in Danbury, Connecticut. Offering the best quality Class A motorhomes from Newmar, travel trailers and fifth wheel lines from Surveyor, and a toy hauler line from Work and Play. Choose from Newmar's Gas Line, Baystar and Canyon Star, or from Newmar's Diesel Line, Ventana and Dutch Star. And with unparalleled service and maintenance, Dave's RV is committed to keeping you and your motor coach safely on the road and enjoying it to the fullest. Stop by their showroom, 2 Industrial Plaza Road, Danbury, Connecticut, or call 877-483-3866.
Whether you're looking for a great test prep program, tutoring to boost your grades, or a blast-off tour with the college of your dreams, C2 Education is here to help. There is nothing one-size-fits-all about our programs. We offer customized tutoring and test prep for each student. Call us today at 203-423-3328.
UK Gourmet is the largest specialty grocer in the area, featuring food from England, Ireland, Scotland, and Wales. Over 80 teas to choose from and a brilliant assortment of biscuits to go with them. Over 70 cheeses from grass-fed cows, which makes a smashing difference in taste. The creamiest chocolate you'll ever taste using no artificial colors or preservatives. So say hooray for UK Gourmet, 78 Stony Hill Road in Bethel, or visit ukgourmet.us.
At Rings End, we say it's time to re-love your home. Time to refresh and reinvigorate the way you live. And whether you're redoing something big or small, remember the letters RE stand for Rings End. We're the new model in home remodeling.
Prep does a really great job with stimulating intellectual curiosity, and it's one of the cornerstone values of our school.
My advice to an 8th grader would be to really investigate all that Prep has to offer.
Welcome to Prep!
Back on the HAN Network, Frank Granito and Kevin Coleman in studio. Looking back on the opening weekend of hockey here in Connecticut. Let's stick with that SCC FCIAC theme. We had New Canaan under new head coach Clark Jones traveling up to Bennett Rink in West Haven taking on the Green Knights of Notre Dame, West Haven. Notre Dame picks up the win, Kevin, 3-2. Excuse me. And Notre Dame looked good. I think they're going to be another team here we see competing, possibly a Final Four team. A lot of speed on that roster. But I was impressed with the Rams. They held their own. Jack Spain and net played very well after giving up a shaky goal early on. We know the Rams are going to be young. This is going to be a difficult season for them, and they're going to have to go through a lot of growing pains. But they definitely are trending in the right direction after what I saw this weekend.
Well, yeah, they lose 3-2, and that's, obviously you don't want to come up on the losing end, but losing 3-2 like that, you take the positives away from the negatives in this one. I think at times, for New Canaan, just a little bit of a miscommunication, some breakdowns for the Rams that I think they can tighten up throughout the season. I'm not going to, count out the Rams. I still think this is a strong team. We know how good of a hockey program New Canaan is. We always know they're going to be right up there with the best of them. So I really do think New Canaan's going to, figure things out here, just get rid of the minor mistakes here early on in the season. But I got to say, these fresh sweaters, Frank, I like them.
I was a very big fan
of
the new Rams uniforms. The script,
got the
white
script with
Rams
the Rams
across
I like
the black looked very, very good. And it's just New Canaan got a goal out of Gunnar Granito and Eric Simoneau, so two of their top line guys score. That's going to have to be a common theme for the Rams. Depth scoring is probably not there the way it was last year, but you're losing 15 players from last year's roster just that were seniors. Then another 3 who contributed as underclassmen. So the top lines have got to be the best players on the ice. For me, the big takeaway, they were able to keep up stride for stride with ND West Haven. That is a very, very fast team. You look at a player like Michael Bensavengo, I think he will arguably be considered one of the best players in the state this year when it's all said and done as a junior, as a sophomore for the Green Knights. So for New Canaan, the growing pains come. Now you've got to bounce back against a very good Hamden team who just took down Darien. Clean it up a little bit in the D zone. Some decision-making that was clearly very raw. You could see these were guys who hadn't quite been to that D1 speed yet, and they were trying to force decisions a little too soon, and they made a couple careless passes that they were lucky didn't result in more goals. Took a couple of poor penalties at bad times, but again, these are all, you go back to what we said about Ridgefield, that is the point of this part of the season. You can make these mistakes now. You've got to have it figured out really by January 3rd. Ridgefield and New Canaan are going to play in the FCX opener at Darien Ice House. That's when these teams want to be really hitting their stride and playing close to their highest level.
And I agree with you. I think with games like this, you look at Richfield, Fairfield Prep, you look at New Canaan with Notre Dame, West Haven, and now they're going up against Hamden. Yes, these are tough matchups early on, but I 100% agree that in the long run, when we get to January 3rd, when we get to the later part of the season, I think these games, these types of learning experiences early on are really going to benefit New Canaan and Richfield, maybe some of the other FCAC teams as well, because it's not only for the state tournament, but it's also for the FCAC tournament as well, because you look at Greenwich, you look at Darien, and for a team like Hamden to beat Darien like they did, and then now going against New Canaan, this is going to be a tough task for New Canaan, but again, I agree. I think this is a very good learning experience for all these FCAC teams that unfortunately fell on the losing end this weekend.
Well, we're essentially playing interchangeable here. New Canaan's going to get Hamden, Darien's going to get Prep, so let's bounce around here. Let's talk Hamden, Darien. Green Dragons, a 6-4 win over the Blue Wave. And Darien, Kev, again, another one of those teams. These are a lot of new names coming up. They've been in this program. They've put in their due time. Now they're ready to step into the spotlight. I was most shocked in talking with John Kovac, who was at the game as well, how high scoring this was. Because there are two programs who are usually very, very strong defensively, so it speaks a testament to the offensive development now we're seeing out of these two schools.
I agree with you. I think you look at the score for Darien, if you look at it, you want to take a positive away from this game, it's the high scoring. You got 4 goals in this game. You have to feel good about your offense, but yes, defensively giving up 6. I know this is a very strong Hamden team, but at the same time, you got to tighten things up on the DN. I think they will ultimately, and again, this goes back to what we just said, going up against a team like Hamden, this will improve things. Look back at the film. Look at the mistakes you made. You go back and you learn from these mistakes, and you only get better from there. 4
goals from 4 different players as well. For Hamden, John Kovac, speaking about him, he said that is a team that is just loaded with depth. All 4 of their lines were going end to end on the ice. A lot of quality scoring chances. Tyler Routh led the way with 3 goals, and you had Mason Boyan who had 2. So it feels as though it was just top-heavy scoring. But Kovac told me, there were chances up and down on this roster. They were constantly putting pressure on Darien in their own zone. So Hamden, another program that we've notoriously known to be a consistent Final Four team, one of the top teams in program state championships, another SEC school there that we expect. Listen, at the end of the day, you look at the 6 teams we saw playing there. I think if you add in, I'll go with Xavier this year over Northwest Catholic and Greenwich, you could arguably be talking about the final 8 teams we see playing from the quarterfinals on in the state tournament.
That's what makes it exciting. I agree with you. I think this time of the year, week leading up to Christmas and New Year's, that's where you really start to see the fun, intriguing games over the week and throughout the weekends. And this past weekend, we saw all these teams have a great shot of going and making it to that Final Four, per se, in their state tournaments.
What do you think about the rest of this week? You're going to have Hamden, New Canaan live on the HAN Network on Wednesday night. Prep and Darien, Greenwich and West Haven. St. Joe's plays Notre Dame of Fairfield. Those games all on Wednesday. Then Friday, you'll have Xavier at Ridgefield, another good test. New Canaan and Darien square off Saturday. So, I mean, you're going to see all these games. It's the beauty of it. D1, they're going to intermix. You're going to play against the best teams and figure out where you are when the dust settles. I do want to jump in before we hit the break here. Greenwich did not play out of conference. It was a non-league game, but they took on St. Joe's in the season opener. They were our preseason pick, Kev, to win the conference, and we think they're going to contend for a state title. They're off on the right foot. 10-2, they took down the Cadets.
Put up a 10 spot. I mean,
10 spot in the first 2 periods.
And I liked what I saw from St. Joe's last year, too. And just to see that scoreline of what it was, man, this is going to be a dominant Greenwich team this year. I'm really looking forward to seeing them in person when we get the opportunity to. But so far, from what I'm seeing, I like what I see so far. This is a high-flying Cardinals team on the Greenwich side.
It's another team that has just got so much depth. It's why I like them early on here and through the FCX season. I don't know that there's another school in the conference that can match up with them line for line. The big issue, obviously, for the Cardinals will be injuries. They were killed by injuries last season. Now, can they stay healthy this year, this time around? That's obviously going to be a deciding factor. For St. Joe's, on the other hand, Coach Eddie Lemire, year 2 here, I think they're trending in the right direction. It's going to be tough. Depth, obviously, at a school like St. Joe's in this conference is always an issue. Ryan Wilson last year, he is going to be dearly missed in net. Bill Bradley had 8 saves. Chris Higgins had 22. Altogether, the Cardinals put 42 pucks on net, so a tough task. But I think Wilson really could help hide the fact that some of the mismatches you hit on those lower lines, that's where St. Joe's might be exposed this year. I think they're still a top 6 team in the conference. I expect them to be in the FCX tournament, but that's where they're going to be hurt. For Greenwich, though, it's speed all day. They've got great line combinations, and it's a lot of guys, Kevin, who have played together. That chemistry we talked about, most teams are taking time to develop. Greenwich has that working in their favor right now. They've got a little bit of a head start when it comes to the rest of the league.
Well, what I really like right now early on in the season is their confidence. You can just tell. They're walking around with a whole lot of swagger here early on in the season. They got boosted confidence. Coach Rurak, a talented coach. He's got a great hockey mind. They got a good coach there for Greenwich, and I really do think that this is a strong team this year, a dominant team. And I agree about St. Joe's. I think this is a team that really can get into the FCX tournament. I think they're a strong team. Early on in the season, maybe work out the kinks a little bit, but Greenwich, we obviously know, are going to be up there as one of the top 2 teams. But St. Joe's, I ultimately think will get into the tournament.
The big thing for St. Joe's or a team like Fairfield, you get a hot goalie when it comes tournament time. There's no denying that they'll be able to make a run. We got to take a break here, Kevin. When we get back, we'll wrap up the final hockey scores from the weekend. We'll look ahead. There's girls and boys hoops going on tonight and tomorrow night. We'll get you ready for all that next on the HAN Network's Nutmeg Sports.
Had a sports injury or slip and fall that needs immediate care? Coastal Orthopedics Walk-In Urgent Care gives you direct access to orthopedic specialists fast without an appointment. Biking, golf, tennis, soccer, whatever the sports injury is, sprain or fracture, Coastal Orthopedics Walk-In Urgent Care can help. Open 7 days a week now at 3 locations. The iPark Building at 761 Main Avenue, Norwalk, 36 Old Kings Highway South in Darien, or in the Westport Medical Center at 323 Riverside Avenue, Westport. Go to coastalorthoct.com. Like them on Facebook.
At Pamby Motors, we're not worried about being the biggest dealership. We're focused on being the best. We're dedicated to giving you the best experience we can. The Pamby Motors team is here to help you choose the right Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge, or Ram in a friendly, pressure-free environment. And now, during our Black Friday sales event, get 0% APR financing for up to 72 months, plus $1,000 retail bonus cash on select 2017 Ram 1500s. Visit Pamby Motors, Route 7 in Ridgefield, PambyZone.com.
The holidays are a wonderful time to spend with families and friends, sharing a fantastic meal. Football season is in full swing, the fishing has been unbelievable, and it's time to make a list and check it twice. Stop at the Dock Shop, get a fix of summer, and browse loads of new products, including fishing tackle, accessories, clothing, jewelry, and home decor. Boater, beach bum, fisherman, or simply love the New England coast, this is a unique place to shop. The Dock Shop, 51 Tokenique Road, Darien, 609 Riverside Avenue, Westport, or dockshop.com.
CT City Lacrosse is dedicated to helping youth and high school players reach their full potential. Director Mike Nazaro, head lacrosse coach at Stanford High School, is holding boys and girls indoor winter clinics for the 2017-2018 season at Bobby Valentine's Sports Academy in Stanford. Find out more and sign up at ctcitylax.com.
At Budget Blinds, we're in business to frame the light, the day, and the night. So we give you an exclusive combination of high style, expert service, our no surprises pricing, and our no questions asked warranty. We believe that everyone, at every budget, deserves style and service. Isn't that a beautiful place to be?
Back on the HAN Network, Nutmeg Sports here, Monday, December 18th. Frank Granito and Kevin Coleman in studio, wrapping up opening weekend of hockey scores. St. Joe's not the only squad surrendering a 10 spot. Trinity Catholic opens the season with a 10-5 loss against Guilford. You had Watertown Pomperog also putting up a big number, a 9-1 win over Trumbull High. I was a little shocked at this Trumbull score, Kev. Watertown Pomperog's very good. They're going to be there when it comes to the end of the year for D2, but a little bit slower of a start than we would have expected, I think, for the Eagles.
I agree with you. I thought this year, I thought Trumbull was a talented team last year, but we really thought they were going to take a step forward this year. So a little bit of a tough start here, but we can only hope they move forward, kind of work out some of the things that went wrong in this game, and maybe look at some film, fix some of, just a little bit of the breakdowns. And I think this is a Trumbull team that is too talented to have more defeats like this season.
Trinity, obviously, defense is an issue there, surrendering 10 goals. But again, you're talking about a program that's just teetering on having double-digit numbers of players there. I like that they had offense in this game, scoring 5 goals against a good Guilford team. So there is a lot to build off of this opening loss for Trinity. Again, for all these programs, and we said it, throughout the tour to all these athletes, no one is winning their conference or their state title in December. You've got to put together a good enough template to build off of here.
Yeah.
So there are little things to work off of. Great to see Norwalk McMahon get a win against an SEC school. So the FCAC got one 5-2 as they take down Massac. But this is a Norwalk team, Kev, that I think similar to what we've seen with Stanford, West Hill the past few years, even Fairfield, they could string together some wins here. If they get 1 or 2 upsets in the conference schedule, could be sitting in that 6th spot when it comes to the end of the year for FCS.
They certainly could. They could be right there with St. Joe's, maybe in a couple other schools like a Trumbull, fighting off that 5 or 6 spot here. As once the team starts settling in, we start thinking about that FCS tournament. That's a ways away from now. But yeah, I agree with you. I think this is a talented team that can disrupt some of the talented teams like a Greenwich, like a New Canaan, like Darien, like Ridgefield. They have the team to do it. Can they have the motivation to do it? That's the big thing, I think, going into each game. Can they get up for each of these big-time games throughout their conference? So a positive note here, and you're right. Good to see at least an FCAC team getting one this weekend. So there you go.
They got a home and home coming up next with the Newington Co-op on Wednesday and then next Wednesday. Boys hoops. Kicking it off tonight, is there any one game in particular you are really excited for? Because for me, I'm going with St. Joe's at Holy Trinity. I think that's an out-of-state, out-of-conference matchup. St. Joe's is an interesting team to me this year. I expect them back in the playoff picture. And so this would be a good statement win for them that they could kick off their season with.
I agree with you. I want to see how you look at Stanford Greenwich. I know this isn't the marquee game in the FCAC, but I want to see how these two teams kind of, get started with the season. Because Stanford, I know they struggled a little bit last year, but I do think they're a little bit of a sleeper team this year.
Well,
I like Stanford, and Greenwich too. I think they're a team that doesn't get enough. They don't get talked about enough, I think. And last year they were talented. I want to see how they do. I want to see how they start off the season. That's kind of what I'm looking at. You know, you got Danbury taking on Bethel, a lot out of conference games, but between that, Weston at West Hill, Norwalk's going into Milford, McMahon, Waterford. I know Richfield's playing a New York team tonight, but I think Stanford Greenwich, I like that game just because I want to see how these two teams face off one another to start the year.
I agree, and it is a good matchup purely because you're right. Stanford is expected to be in the top 6 of the conference. A lot of people have them in their FCIAC tournament. They're expecting big leaps here in year 2 with this new coaching staff. Greenwich is an interesting team. You think about last year, Connor Harkins taking them all the way to the last day of the regular season and just missing out on the FCIAC tournament. They got into states. How do they come back this year now, and what is this class's legacy going to be? So we'll see the Cardinals Thursday night, Kev, against Darien. That's another interesting team for me here, the Blue Wave. They get University tonight. And Darien, a big year last year, obviously disappointing loss in the first round of FCIACs against a very good Danbury team. But how do the Blue Wave respond off that tremendous regular season? How do they, bounce back, or what is their response to what they did with this program?
I want to see how Jack Tierney does down low. I want to see them really get it down on the paint, kind of get him involved, not just around the perimeter. We know Andrew Darby can score. We know this is a team that loses a lot last year, but has enough size and depth to possibly make another run and get into the FCIAC tournament. But it all starts with Jack Tierney. I think if you can get him down low, maybe get him with some points in the post, I think that's how you kind of get things going, jumpstart this offense for the Blue Wave.
Those games on the boys' side tonight. We've got the boys on the air Thursday. That'll be our first basketball game, Greenwich at Darien. Hockey is Wednesday, Hamden at New Canaan. Girls hoops, we've got Brian McMahon at Bridgeport Central tomorrow. That game at 5:30. But Kev, we'll have plenty of time to preview that tomorrow. Let's talk about a big one tonight. Fairfield, Ward, and Ridgefield from the gym up at Ward. That is a very good matchup there, and you get Colonel and McKenna. We saw them on the volleyball court. Now they take it to the hardwood. This is a very intriguing game here.
This is a very intriguing matchup because, like you said, Frank, you have McKenna going up against Colonel, and these two athletes, 3 sport athletes, I should say, these are terrific student athletes here who have proven to show off their athleticism. I want to see how Libby McKenna does because, speaking of Coach Danko, throughout the off season and leading up to the FCIAC tour this past couple weeks, and he mentioned that she's only played in 3 games. You look at last year; she was hurt the entire year. I want to see how she bounces back this year, senior season, a captain along with her and Olivia Parisi. Olivia Parisi.
Hold that thought, because I was going to say, before you steal my thunder here, my player to watch, Olivia Parisi, coming off 10 points, 12 rebounds, 8 assists in their 47-41 win against McMahon on Saturday. I think Colonel's going to have to decide, all right, am I battling with Parisi, battling with McKenna? Whoever avoids that matchup is going to be primed to have a big night. But again, at the same time now, defensively, stopping Caroline Colonel in the paint from getting rebounds, getting putbacks, it's much easier said than done.
You're right, and that's what I think. And Liz, I still think the Tigers are a talented team this year. Don't get me wrong. I think Colonel is capable of taking over this team, but you look throughout this roster, man, they lose so much last year to this team. I mean, losing so much. You lose the Middlebrook twins, which is a key thing like that. Caroline Colonel will have Kate Wagner and Megan Klazowski. I think those 2 players will help her, but it's really Caroline Colonel's show. And can she be able... Now, don't get me wrong. There are still some strong players on this team. I want to see the young players step up.
You said the name. You know that, right?
What?
It's Claire Middlebrook now.
It's Claire Middlebrook.
Claire Middlebrook is who you want to see. I think that Claire is going to be... She's going to step into a huge role, essentially replacing Julia in that backcourt. I think she's going to have a lot more opportunities to shoot the ball. You're going to see the ball in her hands more.
Yeah,
Claire Middlebrook is going to be a big impact player this season for the Tigers.
Oh, I fully agree. She's going to take over, the point guard position from her sister. I think she learned a lot from her last year. She's got some great minutes, I thought, as a sophomore. Now she moves up this year as a junior. Had a great soccer season this past fall.
We're not talking about soccer.
Now she's moving into basketball, where I think, she really showcased some of her strongest skills. ball handling and shooting is what she really showcased this year. I want to see her attack the rim. I want to see her take on defenders, beat them, go inside, and maybe, you know, contest, get to the foul line. She can shoot. I want to see, you know, Middlebrook do that. But Caroline Colonel is really going to be the key piece this year, I think, if the Tigers want to continue their way of getting into the FCIAC postseason. But you're right, it starts tonight against Ward. At Ward, it's going to be a hostile environment for these Tigers. Olivia McKenna, Olivia Parisi, these two players are not going to be easy to stop tonight for the Tigers.
Two of the Final Four teams from last year, they will go tip-off 7 o'clock. The other games going on tonight, you've got Darien at St. Joe's. That game is at 4. And then Trumbull at Bridgeport Central at 5:30. That's going to do it for this episode of Nutmeg Sports. We are back with you tomorrow. And don't forget, we got Girls Hoops, McMahon Senators, Central Hilltoppers, 5:30 right here on the HAN Network.